On the other side of the wide receiver, though, there is DK Metcalf, who is being compared to good old A.J. Brown with the Philadelphia Eagles and the impact he can have with the Steelers. Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports wrote this the other day, quote, Metcalf has been one of the most productive wide receivers since he entered the NFL, a consistent deep ball threat with the ability to change a game. He'll be the number one receiver in Pittsburgh with an easy target to thrive with Aaron Rodgers. Metcalf's numbers should improve in Pittsburgh as he's a focal point of a good passing game. Would it be surprising if Metcalf has the same impact in Pittsburgh as A.J. Brown has had in Philadelphia? A.J. Brown has this guy named Devontae Smith next to him. He's got a quarterback named Jalen Hurts. And last season, he had this guy named Saquon Barkley, which, don't get me wrong, he only had for one season. So there's, certainly stuff going on there. He's also has one of the best offensive line in football. And I just got to ask, you put all that on the table. Do you see DK Metcalf becoming this? And I mean, you got AJ's first year in the league. He tore Akello Witherspoon and Minkah Fitzpatrick up. It wasn't even remotely close to a competition in those showdowns. Do you think that DK can have that level of impact with the Steelers? Or are we just, maybe overhyping it, or at the same time underhyping it if you think that he could?
I think it's a bit of overhyping right now. And it's not because DK Metcalf is being overhyped. He is a sensational football player with game-breaking abilities. The physicality is nearly unmatched across the NFL. He himself is not being overhyped. I think he's going to have a much improved 2025 season with the Steelers, especially compared to the last couple that he had in Seattle. I think it's overhyped because the pieces surrounding DK Metcalf don't really measure up to what the Philadelphia Eagles were running with the past couple of years. As you already pointed out, the number 2 wide receiver position, the gap between where that is in Philadelphia and where it is in Pittsburgh is considerable, in my opinion. And because of that, I think that leaves it makes it a lot easier for opposing defenses in the 2025 season to come up with a game plan to stop the Steelers. You're fine essentially with the idea of Calvin Austin or Pat Freiermuth beating you if you shut down DK Metcalf. When you're game planning for the Philadelphia Eagles, you don't necessarily have that same luxury of like, oh, well, we'll just let Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley beat us because we'll shut down A.J. Brown. You know that's a recipe for a loss. You can take that gamble with the Steelers right now. So because the pieces, I think Jalen Hurts is a very easy pick over Aaron Rodgers right now. I think Devontae Smith is a very easy pick over Calvin Austin III or Roman Wilson. And I think Saquon Barkley is a pretty easy pick right now over Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson. Not that the promise isn't there for the Steelers offense. I want to repeat and maintain that. But I do think right now it's overhyped, and I think it would be kind of a very impossible bar to reach if we set it at Philadelphia Eagles 2024 A.J. Brown standards.
I think I agree. I mean, there are things that make me excited. Okay. There are connections that everybody wants to talk smack on Arthur Smith, which I get. Like, I'm not going to sit here. I defend Arthur Smith quite a bit. I think he's a good offensive coordinator, but I understand the criticism that comes his way. Like, I definitely get it. There's some good connections here. Okay. A.J. Brown was a stud in Tennessee before he went to Philly. This was not like a new thing. He didn't just show up with the Eagles and be like, I'm immediately the guy. He was the guy in Tennessee. That's why his GM got fired 15 minutes after he got traded, because the owner went, what the hell did you just do? What was, I didn't say yes to that. That wasn't a move that we wanted to make. He had Arthur Smith as his offensive coordinator, Corey Davis as his wide receiver 2. Granted, Derrick Henry was his running back, and that creates a lot of room for the passing game. Ton of room for the passing game. He had pretty good offensive line, and he had the comeback player of the year in Tennessee. But that guy's name was Ryan Tannehill. I'd put 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers over 35-year-old Ryan Tannehill any day of the week. Any day of the week. I think Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and the misfit bunch of wide receivers in Pittsburgh could equal Corey Davis pretty fairly. I think that's a good way to look at it. Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, that adds up to a pretty decent like second receiving option. I think the running game in Caleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren, not Derrick Henry, but still very good. Offensive line is a massive question mark, but I just look at it and say Arthur Smith knows how to do this, and that's what excites me about this situation. It doesn't have to be A.J. Brown level impact of this guy is an absolute animal and deserves all the money in the world, and there's just no stopping him. All I'm looking for is some hope to say DK Metcalf is about to be the dude, like a dude in the NFL, a guy that by the end of the season, you are going to say, everyone is going to say DK Metcalf is one of the best in the NFL still. And I can't believe that we overlooked this guy because Geno Smith was his quarterback and we were trying to act like he wasn't good, because that's what's happening is I think you get a large chunk of people that bring up the DK wasn't the wide receiver one in Seattle last season. His quarterback was Geno Smith. Okay. And again, Geno Smith is not in Pittsburgh, and if he was, we wouldn't be talking Steelers are all in. They might win a Super Bowl this year. We wouldn't be they can make the same moves that they're making now. And if you replace Aaron Rodgers with Geno Smith, it's a different situation. It just truly is. Didn't have a great offensive line. The running game was injured most of the time. I just feel that Pittsburgh gives them a better situation, and that excites me for sure. Like, for sure excites me. And I think Arthur Smith is the key component here to figure it out. Plus, there was this guy named Jonnu Smith in Tennessee when AJ was in Tennessee, and now he's in Pittsburgh when DK is in Pittsburgh. I don't know. Like, what's your confidence level in DK just like being a superstar? Because that's what the Steelers need is a super. That's what this article is. That's what this comparison is DK can be a superstar for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think people are like super over the top optimistic that that's going to happen. Are you? What's your confidence level he could be?
I think I fall into the camp of being a little bit suspect of it. I think my confidence level is like scale of 1 to 10. I'd go a 6. I think it's possible. It has been so long since Antonio Brown, to be quite frank, that we have had a superstar, true superstar, by definition, at the wide receiver position. I think DK Metcalf, what I feel 10 out of 10 confident in is that he gets to probably 1,100 yards receiving at minimum. That's where I would put him. I think he's going to eat. He's going to get targets. Yeah. He's going to get catches. He's going to get more touchdowns than he has over the past couple of years with Geno Smith throwing him the ball. I just don't feel confident in the Steelers' ability yet to create a superstar on offense in 2025. The pieces are there, right? You know, the components of what made Arthur Smith so desirable around the league are already in place for the most part in the Steelers' offense. The potential is there. You know, when you look at what the Eagles did last year, you know, AJ Brown wasn't the only person who had a successful year. I mean, he missed a few games, but, you know, it was a down statistical year from what he had done previously. So there is some spreading out happening, but I also think that eliminates the possibility of one player rising above the rest so much so to be like a superstar. Like, and to me, that is like a 1,500 yard, 10, 12 touchdown season for DK Metcalf. I think that would be like, wow, that's like return to superstardom for him. How did we stop? Why did we stop thinking about him in this elite tier? But I think what is more realistic is like 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, something like that. And I think for me, that's a huge improvement as the Steelers' number 1 wide receiver. But I don't think that guarantees him as a superstar again, or at least league wide does not put him in that status.
I want to say I agree. I agree right now. I hope for more. You know, like I think the door is still open for that to happen. People will, like, it's just tough. Like, if Terry McLaurin shows up in Pittsburgh, is he the wide receiver 2 or the wide receiver 1?
2.
Would you consider Terry McLaurin a superstar in the NFL? Would you consider him closer than DK?
Probably closer than DK, yeah. Which
right?
is contradictory. I understand that, but you know, this is DK Metcalf's position group right now, you know. So even if you bring in someone who might be closer to the superstar tier, I don't think it changes the fact that this is like DK's room.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not. It will be DK's room. It's DK's offense. It's the Steelers made the DK move, which is, I mean, let's be honest, Terry McLaurin isn't coming, but it's just like a comparison of like people are looking for like the addition of these names.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, I think, surpass what the outlook on DK Metcalf is. I don't know. I don't think you pay a guy that much money if you don't think that he's got 1,800 yards in him. You know, if he could still pull it off. I'm not predicting that could happen, but what I am saying is I think the pieces are there, and I would be not so surprised if DK Metcalf surprises us this season, which I hope. And I think we'll finish it with this one. If DK, let's say 1,600 yards and 10 touchdowns this season, is that enough to give the Steelers a real shot at a Super Bowl? If let's say you're getting 800 yards out of your running backs each and defense is playing all right, is that enough to be the X factor?
For sure. If they have a 1,600 yard, 10 touchdown wide receiver in DK Metcalf and they're not a Super Bowl contender, they done messed up real bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong.